have a team for us yet?
No, we don't. We'll chat about it after this, and probably before training we'll get closer to an 11.
What's sort of in the balance there?
Jason Behrendorff he's been monitored, just a bit of sore back and things like that. He's had some back issues in the past, so I think it's about managing him through this series and further forward. So we're just going to have a chat about that and speak to the medicos. Everyone's just getting to training now, so we'll chat about that after this and make a decision either tomorrow morning or later this afternoon.
Do you would it be like a like for like change, would you imagine, if Behrendorff didn't play?
Oh, if he doesn't play, I'd imagine it would be, yeah.
What about the performance of obviously Nathan Lyons come back in and hasn't been able to get a wicket, get a breakthrough? Would you bring someone like that down for maybe to perform well at the start?
Yeah, I think that's we'll chat about all of that stuff. I thought the way Gazza's bowled has been really impressive. Adelaide obviously short square boundary and bowled really well, quite defensively, which I think for his role was pretty important. Seeing any time that the ball's been tossed up, Rohit Sharma hit a couple off him in the first game and Dhoni the other day, but I think he's been really impressive. Obviously not getting a wicket, he would have liked a bit more return for that, but at the same time, you're bowling against some pretty world-class, or some all-timers, really. So I think when he keeps bowling that well, he will get rewarded eventually.
Series at 1-1, and a lot of positives for Australia in the last two games. So how big will it be if you guys can cross the line tomorrow?
Yeah, obviously we're very keen to win the series. It's been a while since we've won a series home or away, and coming up against a really powerful Indian lineup, like you said, there's been some real positives, particularly with the bat in these two games. There's been a lot of improvement over the last 8-10 months to be really proud of in these two games, but it's still, like you said, 1-1. So the way that we've bowled as a unit, I think, has been outstanding. Young Jai Richardson has been really impressive, particularly in Sydney, and then again the other day to cop some tap early from Shikhar in particular, and then the way that he bounced back and bowled some really tough overs was impressive. Behrendorff's been great. Sids didn't have his best night the other night, but it's still all working to a plan, and yeah, there's been a lot of improvement, a lot to be proud of so far, but winning the series is the main focus.
What are you guys taking from this series as a whole leading to the World Cup?
I think the way that we've batted, there's been a lot of talk around our batting, particularly in one-day cricket, through their middle overs. I think the way that we've played their spin so far, I think 3 for 115 from the 22 overs in Sydney, and then 1 for 115 last game, I think is a really good indication that the improvements there and the mindset shift in particular from the last couple of months has been really good, and a lot of improvement. I think to be able to get 286 and then 298 back to back on Sydney, which was a pretty slow wicket, and the other day in some pretty brutal conditions out there, Shaun Marsh has been outstanding. So that's been a real positive so far, is the way that we've adapted to our game plan and stuck to it really well.
And that balance between your strike bowlers being rested but finding out about you guys, is that balance all there?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, Jai Richardson, we've seen how well he can perform in domestic cricket. He's had a bit of a taste of it, particularly in England, where that was a really tough tour for the bowlers, in particular. It was for everyone, but I think the way that he's fronted up this tour or this series and bowled really well against world-class players has been outstanding. He's shown a lot of skill. He's shown a lot of resilience as well by when guys are coming hard at you with some pretty big reputations and some big numbers behind them. He's held his nerve really well, and that's a real positive for us.
Just on Alex opening the batting, I know you've mentioned that he bats there domestically, and it's sort of the role he's done before. Looking ahead to the World Cup, obviously you're likely to have two, Warner and Smith, come back. What does that mean for Alex going forward, looking ahead to the World Cup?
I think it's about giving him the best opportunity to perform. He's been shuffled around the order a lot, so we're keen to give him some consistent position and allow him to play a game that is pretty comfortable with in terms of open the batting in one-day cricket, T20 cricket. So in terms of what it looks like going forward, I think that's going to have to wait and see. Obviously, Steve's elbow surgery the other day. Apparently went really well, and some reports in the last hour or so of Davey having an injured elbow as well. So it's about trying to have as many bases covered as we can going into the Indian and Pakistan series, and then onto the World Cup. So if we've got a few guys that can play 3 or 4 different roles in the side, whether it be opening, middle order, floater, finishing off the innings, I think that gives us a lot of flexibility with the squad makeup.
So if he wasn't to open going forward for whatever reason, where would you think he's best suited to? Top number 3 or lower down the order?
Well, he's, like I said before, he's batted everywhere, and he's done a pretty good job at wherever he's batted. The one place that he hasn't really batted a huge amount in his career is down at number 7, which is a traditional keeper spot, opening or 7 in one-day cricket. So I think it's just about getting him as much experience and as much game time as we can, exposing him to some really high-pressure situations, which it has been. India, number 2 in the world, fantastic side. So the way that he's opened the batting so far, he would have liked to have gone on and had a bigger impact. But the way he started, your first 20 balls is the toughest in cricket, and he's played that really well so far. So there's some really positive signs there.
Just touched on the first 20 balls of an innings. How sort of frustrated, I guess, are you with your own form at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit
frustrated. Is there anything you can do to tinker with things?
Bat a bit longer.
Yeah.
That'll be the number one thing. I think when you're searching for runs, you can be searching for the right recipe. And I think over the last couple of days, I've had a chance to go back and look at some footage and see what's worked really well when I've got hundreds for Australia and felt like I've been playing really well. So it's just about making sure that I give myself the best chance. And maybe I've been too tentative in the last couple of games, letting a bit of pressure build up. And it's always a fine balance between attack and hanging in there and waiting for the right time to sort of, I suppose, be aggressive and take on the game. But I still feel I'm a very good player. I think 13 international hundreds suggests that I do know what is required. It's just a case of just getting through that initial part, and I'm probably looking to put a bit of pressure back on the bowler. I think at the moment I've just been a little bit tentative in my thought process and in my footwork at times. So I think that's just about going back to my natural game and just letting that flow and finding the right rhythm.
When you were dropped from the test side, you said it was probably a blessing in disguise to have a couple of days away from cricket and get home and that sort of stuff. Have you thought about, after this series or in the lead up to World Cup, actually pulling yourself out of selection or having the time off in an extended period?
Well, April's going to be some time off, which is a month off after the Dubai series, and then before we head up to Brisbane for a camp before the World Cup. So that'll be the first real long break that I've had in a long time. So it'll be an opportunity to go on a quick holiday with my wife, which hasn't happened in the 5.5 years we've been together. So yeah, it'll be nice. But just looking forward to playing some really tough cricket. I mean, India at home and then away, followed by Pakistan in the UAE. It doesn't get much tougher than that in terms of conditions and opposition.
Are you confident you can push through those series to get to April to the Wild?
Yeah, absolutely. I think after this series, just a bit of big bash, which the Renegade schedule has a few breaks in it as well, which will be really crucial and just a time, like I said, leading into this series, time to recharge and just get back to getting out there and trying to slog a few around.
Aaron, just following up on that question, 12 months ago, Steve Smith said that by the end of the one-day series, he was spent and it really affected his cricket at that time of the season. You're the younger player playing 3 formats. Do you think, sort of casting forward a little bit, that you might have to manage your own workload a little bit more carefully so you're not in a situation where you kind of almost burnt out, need that recharge away?
Yeah, I'm back to 2 forms now at the moment. So I think that there's going to be enough time for that over the next little while. I think with the Indian and Pakistan series back to back, and then that April break, I think that's a fair bit of time, and the most time I would have had off in a long time away from cricket. So that's something to look forward to. But there's still a big 11 games before that happens, and 11 one-dayers and a few T20s. So it's just about trying to perform as well as we can during that period.
Last 3 for us.
Aaron, looking from afar, it would always feel like everyone in Australian cricket generally was always on the same page when things were going great, including the former cricketers. How is it to captain during a time when there's like so much noise from former cricketers? The other day I read someone criticizing your young fast bowlers. Like, what do you tell these young guys, like how to deal with all this criticism?
Yeah, I think we're in a unique situation at the moment where we have a lot more coverage of cricket. There's a lot more commentators. There's a lot more social media interest around it. So I think for the young guys, it's important to not let that get to you. I think it's important to have either your own network of people to go back to and people who you really trust with your own game as well, outside of the Australian cricket team coaches. I think at times the best thing that you can do is go back and see someone who you're really comfortable with and who's seen your game over a long period of time. And if that's your state coach, if it's your club coach, if it's a personal coach, I think it can be good just to have a different voice at times. A lot of the time they're telling you the exact same thing that everyone else is, but it's coming from a different place, and that can be really refreshing at times. So in terms of the criticism of our young fast bowlers and things like that, I think they've been outstanding. They're playing a high intensity game under some real pressure against a real world class team. So there's going to be times when they have the better of you, and there's going to be times when you have the better of them, and that's professional sport, that's professional cricket. So you have to accept it at times, but my advice is just to tune out as much as that as you can, because it can get you down. And I think the great Sachin once said, I don't need people to tell me how well I'm going, I don't need people to tell me how poor I'm going. So you know yourself, you know in your heart how you're going, so I think that's the most important thing.
Across the past 12 months, no one's played more for Australia than you have. Plus, you throw on all the added stuff, being captain of the T20 and the other one-day team. You've got to do all this stuff as well. And it's been a massive 12 months of cricket, as we know. So has it been enjoyable for you? And B, who have you been leaning on to help get you through that, coping with everything as well as being able to go out there and make runs?
Yeah, it definitely has been enjoyable. There's times, obviously, when you're playing that doesn't go your way. As a player, as a team, you feel like you play really well and you lose. There's other days when you nick one and it just drops, or it just drops short of your slips and things like that. That's all great fun. It's all a part of the journey, and it's a part of the game that we all love. So you never take it for granted, because it ends pretty quick. So I think it's important to understand that we've got the best job in the world. We're representing our country. Embrace it. The tough times don't last. They really don't. I think when you come out the other side of it, and whether it's your own personal form or the team, it's important to understand how hard it was when things weren't going your way, to really appreciate when it's going well, and to not get carried away with one or two good performances. It's about backing up day after day as a professional cricketer. And for me personally, I've spent quite a bit of time with Justin and all the coaches. Andrew McDonald, someone that I lean on a lot outside of cricket, whether it be batting, tactics, cricket, life. He's just a great bloke who knows the game very well, who understands people a lot better than most, I think. So it's about getting the best out of individuals as well. So yeah, that's who I go to mostly.